So of the three key elements of the information assurance model, I think the one that's most commonly understood or assumed as a component here is technology. When people think of security, when you go to your CXO and say, I need money for information security or information assurance, the answer is usually firewall or intrusion protection system or article I just read in CXO Monthly or something like that, or malware scanner, or do you need money for the Norton, which is great. That's a typical response. Those are all technologies, right? But that's only one part of this big model. The information assurance model, the technology component, again, is fairly well understood, but I like to ask questions that are slightly different about the technology. Not just about do you have the right routers or switches in place, or do you have the right intrusion detection systems in place, do you have the right malware scanners in place, but it's more, does the organization as a whole have a belief that any computer security problem is technology-based? If there's an attack, it must be a bad intrusion detection system. Or if there's a virus, it must be our malware scanner stinks, or the malware scanner administrator must have not been doing their job, so let's fire that person. Just blaming this kind of technology stuff over and over and over again. And that's really not good. If there's an information assurance failure, a security failure in an organization, it's not always about technology. It's not always about the wrong port was open or the wrong kind of firewall was in place. So that's usually one of the first questions I'll ask, is I'll ask a question, open-ended question, like, tell me about a couple of recent incidents. Just don't tell me about what caused them or what the resolution was. Just tell me about the incident. What happened? Oh, well, we got hacked. Okay, cool. What do you mean you got hacked? Well, we got this break-in from, we couldn't find where it was coming from, and this person got in and used a password and downloaded a bunch of our documents or something. Oh, okay, cool. So what kind of data do you have? What kind of research did you do on what the root cause was? Oh, we have a crappy old firewall. Really? Because that doesn't sound like those things match. Well, yeah, we haven't replaced that firewall in like 6-7 years, so we spent the money, we replaced the firewall, that problem will never happen again. It sounds familiar, right? But the problem is those things don't relate to each other. It's a real easy thing to just point finger at or at technology side of that, but maybe it was the people side of the equation. Maybe someone forgot to lock down a new firewall, or someone forgot to shut down a port, someone forgot to reconfigure the DMZ correctly after an upgrade or a new implementation. Maybe it was a process. Maybe some new technology was implemented or a firmware upgrade was rolled out without following the correct process of applying the correct settings or patches in the right way. Or maybe the firewall was left unconfigured for a short amount of time during an upgrade. That's no fault of the technology. Replacing with the coolest, newest technology, it will do absolutely nothing to protect future incidents other than make you feel better that you spent money on that cool new thing. Waste. Does technology implement security processes? So you understand what the processes are. You've defined what kind of information technology or information assurance processes you have. The technology is useless without some kind of process to define what it does. You can say, well, I want to block this port or block that port, but if you don't know which port based on the processes you've established, that piece of hardware is completely useless. Or worse than useless, it will block the wrong things. And in the name of protecting or providing security, it will actually destroy usability or functionality. And then hopefully, most technology in modern IT tries to simplify experiences, tries to make life easier for both IT professionals, for security admins, and also for end users and executives. Most technology really, really, really tries hard to simplify things. And that's a good thing, I think. The easier, the more straightforward and basic a security solution can be on the technology side, the better. If you have to, for example, configure an intrusion detection system at the command prompt, knowing uppercase, lowercase, context-sensitive switches, that's not very usable. That's not very repeatable. It's actually exceptionally difficult to implement and will take a long time and be fairly expensive, versus an intrusion detection system or prevention system that you implement, that you just rack it up, connect it up and let it, let's say, next generation, that'll just detect network traffic and patterns for 30 days, 60 days, and then switch out of audit mode into protection mode, and then based on what it did, what it sniffed, what it detected, it actually implements security to make sure that those patterns are adhered to. That's a lot easier. That's a lot simpler, a lot less time and a lot less opportunity for people to mess up. So the simpler, the better with technology. I don't want to grind on it too much because I think a lot of us understand the security side of the information assurance model. But the key bit here is just to remember technology is not perfect. Security technology is not just a point your finger at it and it either works or it doesn't. And if it works, you're completely immune to all forms of attack or compromise or data loss. And if it fails, everybody and their brother drives a pickup truck over to your data center and fills it up with data and leaves and goes sells it to this other country that wants to pilfer it. That's not the way it is, but that's the way most people treat it. So remember, technology has its place in the information assurance model, but it is not in and of itself the information assurance model, nor can it make up for blatant loss in the two other key areas or key elements. And I'll show you that in just a sec.